Awesome. Hello, hello, and welcome. We are so thrilled that you have chosen out of the very incredible list of options for one of your breakouts to spend a little bit of your day with us. My name is Victoria Adewumi, and I am joined by the incredible, fabulous Penny Jewel and Kira Rodella. The three of us are CHWs, and we also are part of the Community Health Workers Center for Research and Evaluation, also known as CHWCRE. You're going to hear more about our work in just a few moments, but we are so glad that you all are here and getting to hopefully build some skill and capacity around this topic. How can we build evaluation skills for our workforce, for each other, to promote community health worker involvement in research and evaluation? And a key theme of this workshop, we believe that it is critically important for community health workers to be the leaders of research and evaluation for their own profession. So that means today's workshop is meant to allow you to increase your ability to be engaged in research about your profession, your program, and our workforce. So what are we going to do today exactly? So by the end of our time together, we hope that you all will have an opportunity to tell us a little bit what you want to learn about research and evaluation. We also hope we'll get to spend some time together learning from each other about what you already know and feel about research and evaluation, or R&E, as you'll hear us call it. You also will hopefully understand the benefits of community health workers being engaged in every aspect and all phases of R&E, and we'll talk about the phases in a moment as well. And you'll also have an opportunity to learn how you can continue to be involved and continue to build skills in R&E. So those are our objectives. This is our agenda. So you're in the midst of your intro. We are going to be passing things to Penny in just a few moments, who's going to lead us in a dinamica. We're going to talk about the benefits of CHW involvement in R&E, go through some terminology, concepts, cycle of research. We'll have an opportunity, as we said, to learn how you can continue to be involved and continue to build skills. And we would not be good researchers and evaluators if we did not have an evaluation at the end of our session. So we have built some time for that as well. All right, you all are going to hear us talk about popular or people's education in this session quite a bit. We really believe that popular or people's education is the shared root and fruit of the CHW workforce, and that the workforce is strengthened when we use pop ed, and pop ed is strengthened when we get to apply pop ed principles to our work with the CHW workforce. So for us, using popular education means that we are all teachers and we're all learners. It means that we'll encourage your involvement, but we will never force you to be involved. And we really believe that we have an opportunity to build knowledge together and learn what we already hopefully know and build off of that knowledge. And what feels like, most importantly, we're going to have a good time. So that being said, I am going to pass things to my dear colleague, Penny, who's going to lead us in our dinamica.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And hi to everyone. It is hard to do popular education sometimes when we can't see each other and we're not as connected as we'd like. But let's just talk about one of the main ideas of popular education, and that's that we need to intentionally create this space that we, have everybody sharing and they're comfortable and everybody just trusts one another. We've built this relationship. And so when we do that, a way that we do that are by dinamicas, which are social learning games. And in English, we call those movement building activities. So I'm gonna ask you a question before we even start. Can everybody do a reaction? Use your reaction button and send a heart, send a smiley face. Can we see those? Yes, I'm seeing those. Okay, that's what yes, thank you. Okay, so this Dinamica today is called This or That. And we're calling this the back to school edition because we have so many with kiddos going back to school or ourselves going back to school, or we just remember what it was like in school. So the way this is going to work is I am going to name two things. And then I want you to think about these things and then decide which one you prefer. Only one. You have to pick one. So then I'll name them one at a time. And what I want you to do is use those emojis, use the chat feature, and I want you to show us which one you like better. So let's practice, and I'll say coffee or tea. So who are my coffee drinkers? Ooh, here we go. I got some hearts coming. We got, yeah, coffee. All right. How about tea? A couple. Yeah, I know Victoria. Yeah. All right. Yes. And perfect. I love it. In the chat, I am seeing who my tea drinkers are. Okay. So now we're going to get started. Our first this or that. All right. Were you a morning person or a night owl? Did you get up early and do homework or stay up late? So where are my morning people? Let's see some morning. Oh, yeah, Noelle, you're a morning person. Ah, Kira's a night owl. Leo, morning. Yep. Where? All right. How about some emojis from my night owls? Yeah, there's a few there. Yeah. All right. All right. How about this one? Who had lunch from home or did a hot lunch or a school lunch? All right. Who did the home lunch? Who did a little lunch bag, a lunch box? Yeah. Who did? Yeah, there was quite a few. All right. Who did the hot lunch? Who did the school lunch? Absolutely. Somebody had some good school lunches. That was not the case in my high school. All right. Next one. Pens or pencils? Who likes to write in pens or pencils? So let's go first with pens. Who just goes ahead and writes with a pen? If you make a mistake, you're scribbling it out. Pens for sure. Okay. Who likes to have the eraser on the pencil so that you could actually, ooh, mechanical pencil. Yes. Yeah. I like the pencil so I could erase. All right, we'll do a couple more. Here's a good one for now. How about a physical book or the ebook? Physical book. Who wants your old school, just a good old fashioned book? Yes, I'm with you. Yep, Charlotte got it. All right, who likes the ebook, the digital? Okay, I see. Yeah, we have like, pretty even on that one. All right, last one. Were you a front row or a back row? Who wanted to be right up front? Who wanted to be front and center in front of that teacher, in front of that chalkboard? All right, who wanted to be in the back row? Maybe talking a little too much to your friends. I was totally back row, Rosanna. Yes, that was me. I was too busy chatting it up, right? Hiding in the back. Yes, exactly. Okay. All right. So thank you for that. That is so much fun. And the one thing that we want to talk about when we do dinamicas, they're different from a typical icebreaker because we're doing them with intent. We always like to reflect after we finish. So I just want to ask if you feel any differently after doing that dinamica than before we started. And you can just, give me some thumbs up, or you can tell me how in the chat. Oh yeah, we got a few thumbs up. Yeah, so I'm glad you enjoyed it. Laughing, yeah. These are fun. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. All right, so those are some of the reasons that we do these activities, just to kind of bring that comfort, ease the tension a little bit, have a little fun, get to know each other. So I am going to go ahead and I'll pass you over to Victoria, I think. Wait, no, Kira? Victoria? I
Yep,
don't even know.
that's me. That's all right. Yep, I will take it from here. Thank you, Penny. So, all right, pop ed, right? Another main idea of popular education is that we should always start with what people already know and feel. And we know y'all know a lot about this topic, so we're going to talk a little bit and see what the basis is before we try to add a little bit more information to your knowledge. Um, what I would love y'all to do is use the chat, and we're going to use a whiteboard. I want you to add your responses in the chat, and or if you can, directly onto the whiteboard. And this is a question I'm going to ask you. I want you to just give me 1 or 2 words. It has to be the first words that pop in your head. Don't think too hard about it. But what I would love to know in 1 or 2 words, what comes to your mind when you hear the word research? Data, academia, work, public health. Okay, y'all are fast. Okay, oh, thank you. Test tubes. Okay. Complicated questions. I got complicated twice. Okay. Advancement. To learn more. I love that. New rules. Okay. Digging. Statistics. Yes, yes, yes. Any other words that pop up? Oh, we got 2 more. Questions, numbers, science, learning. Okay. And research can equal more money. That is true. Very true. The hypothesis driven. Okay. Thank you. Awesome. Anyone else? Those are all really great responses. Thank you. Proof. Okay. That's an interesting one. Proof for sure. So let me ask you this then. Since everything is in the chat, you all can look at that. What catches your attention about the words that you're seeing on the screen, on the whiteboard, or in the chat? And you can drop those responses in chat too. What catches your attention about these words? Technical terms, definitely. A lot of clinical, no personal. Quantitative words, yes. It seems hard to, the higher inquiry, complex, hard to measure feelings, variables, yeah. They're mostly all about discovery. That is interesting, yeah, no, that's true. Are there any negative or positive connotations to the words that were dropped in there, do you think? Or how do you feel about that? Experimenting, I love that. Ooh, hypothesis driven doesn't always relate to every demographic group from the studies and counseling theories. Interesting. Neutral, all right. So they sound neutral. Okay. Any other? Scary. Scary, yeah. I'd love to know where on that one.
And I know, unfortunately, we don't have the ability to hear from you directly, but I'd invite Martha to maybe say a little bit more about scary as an idea when we talk about research and evaluation.
If you're comfortable. And if not, that's cool too. We'll give you a minute. I think I want to ask, so those words are technical. Some are neutral, felt neutral. Some are scary, they're about discovery. I think what I'd love to know, I don't know if biased or what was the motive behind the research. I feel that, especially being from a community, a specific community, I feel that a lot, Martha. Thank you for sharing that. So why is it important to include CHWs in research and evaluation? Why do y'all think it's important?
Mhm.
To earn more money, to have a voice at the table, for sure. Yes, because we do know the community and it adds authenticity and accountability. And we do help navigate through medical mistrust. Absolutely. Yep. We're in direct contact. And because of our lived experience, to help validate data. See, y'all, they know all this. Do we even need to keep going? I think we do. We see that everyday experiences our patients deal with, our research may help facilitate healthcare systems, engineering better service to our patients. Absolutely. All those reasons. And we advocate for community advocacy. Absolutely. That is exactly why as CHWs, we need to be at those tables. That's why it's important for us to be involved in research and evaluation from start to finish, which we'll talk some more about. So keep those responses in mind as we go through some more information in our session today. Thank you all for participating in the chat in this way. And I'm going to kick it over to Victoria so we can talk a little bit more about the research cycle.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to thank Kira, thank Penny for really, really beautiful dinamica/movement building activities and a fantastic brainstorm. I think you all have highlighted the reasons why the three of us came to love and appreciate this field, because it's exactly what you all said, that we know the community. Between the three of us, we have over 50 years of CHW experience. And quite frankly, some of the folks who are at the table making decisions about our communities don't look like us, don't have our background, don't have our experience. And so main idea, not to bury the lead, main idea is that CHWs are so critical to this conversation, because if we're not there, other people are. And we know what's needed, what's important, and what's going to make real impact in the community and love. And to do that, we need some key skills. So first and foremost, we need to understand what are the steps? How do you start at the beginning? Able to be part of a project called Community Health Workers for COVID Response and Resilient Communities. Many of you might be grantees or familiar with that work. We are part of the evaluation team for that project, one of the two evaluation teams for that project. And part of that project, we were able to develop what we call sort of a life cycle of research and evaluation. So it is this graphic, and the hope is that this graphic is supportive of how we might better understand the steps to conducting research and evaluation, but not just any research and evaluation that's conducted in ways that are participatory, which means they are involving our communities and they're ensuring that community voice is centered. But let me stop and ask you all, and I'm going to beg assistance from Kira and Penny for reviewing the chat. What jumps out at you when you see this graphic?
Someone
I
says
see.
Earth, a process.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh, Victoria, will you repeat the question?
I can. I also got that dreaded "your internet is unstable" message. So hopefully my audio and my video holds. I was asking what jumps out at you when you see this graphic. And I'm also curious, I know that we might have some researchers and evaluators in the room. How might this graphic be similar or different than other graphics that you might be familiar with or might have seen in the past? Yeah, and I think I'm seeing in the chat, right, that there's forward movement. I love that, Martha. It's dynamic. There's some movement and some energy to it. I also see values at the center, ding, 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 that our values that we hold, that our communities hold, are so vital and important to always be centered. I also am seeing, yes, there's a sun and an earth motif that's definitely present. Revolving, no ending or beginning. It's nonlinear, it's a cycle. Absolutely. Kira, these folks know. What are we telling them? They already have this.
That's what I'm saying.
These folks already have it. Absolutely. All of those things are key and vitally important when we think about this graphic specifically, but also how we hope research and evaluation is conducted. So let's begin at the beginning. Absolutely. Our values are front and center. So these might be values around social justice, around challenging racism, both structural and interpersonal. We might have values around how we as a community want to be seen and understood and cared about. All of these things are so vital as we are approaching a research project or research intervention or initiative, because we as researchers come with some level of preconceived notions, good and bad. And so really making sure that our values, and these are values that are aligned with communities that we're working with, are front and center is so, so key. You'll also see around that values is multiple ways of knowing. We borrow heavily from our dear colleagues, and you can see that we may be borrowing a bit from other graphics that you might be familiar with. I'm thinking about my other researchers and evaluation team folks in the room, that this is a graphic that has deep Indigenous roots. And so we recognize that traditional or conventional research has said there is one way that we know truth, that it is objective, that it is not personal, that it requires you to do a randomized control study or some other method or tool. And we're saying that actually Indigenous knowledge, community knowledge is just as valid and just as important. And so while all of those things are great too, knowledge that's already held within our communities is as valid, as important, and as key. Now, if we go sort of another layer out, we're looking at the actual steps in a research project. So if we start sort of here at the top, we have developing the team. And so that might mean recruiting individuals from the community. Maybe we have an academic partner or a university partner. Maybe we have other researchers that are coming from other spaces, but we want to best understand who is going to be essential in developing our team or who's going to be essential on our team based on our research question. Our research question hopefully has been developed with CHWs and with community members. And so we are assembling the best minds that are going to be able to help us really understand and really gather the information we need to best assess and best come to some solution or some additional information that helps us around our question. Then we're identifying an approach. So there's lots of approaches that we can use, but we're really saying that our approach should be one that values community members first and foremost. And so making sure that they're involved. Oftentimes we'll use qualitative research studies. And so those are studies that are really asking survey questions or focus groups or interviews or other kinds of methods or tools that really ensure that the knowledge that we're gaining is knowledge from community members, not from folks who may not have as much lived experience or background in the particular issue or question that we're hoping to resolve. Then we identify our evaluation questions. Absolutely. So this is really what's driving our research project or our research study. These are the questions that are helping us guide how and why we're asking a particular question to a particular community. These are also the questions that are going to be really key when we get to analyzing and interpreting our data later on in our cycle. Then we're identifying our evaluation design. And again, you all heard me talk about lots of different evaluation designs. We really feel that, again, evaluation designs that are as inclusive as possible of community members, of their knowledge, of their expertise is really vital and really, really key. Then we have our data and collection methods. So again, you all heard me mention things like surveys, things like interviews or focus groups. These are all ways that we're really understanding from a community perspective what's working, what's not working based on our evaluation question. And this is the point, I'll put a little star here. This is the point that CHWs are often involved. But we don't always see CHWs involved in the steps that happened before this, right? They may not be part of developing the team, identifying our approach, the questions, or the design. And so really ensuring that CHWs are not just the ones administering the survey, but they're the ones that are helping and directing all of the steps that we've talked about so far is so essential and so key. So then collecting the data, analyzing and interpreting the results. And I'm going to pause and ask, what do you all think the difference is between analyzing data and interpreting data? So I'll ask it again. What do you all think the difference is between analyzing data and interpreting data? And I'm going to ask my dear friends, Kira and Penny, to please help me monitor the chat as responses come in. Thank you so much, Kira, for putting that question in the chat.
So computing the numbers versus knowing what the numbers are telling us is an answer.
I love that. What other answers do we have in the chat?
We have analyze as crunching data, while interpret is like meaningful in context.
Come on.
Analyze,
All right.
yeah, analyze is looking for a trend, and then interpreting is explaining the trends.
Come on. I love that.
Someone says for an analyze, you must have tools. Analyze is looking right at the numbers, while interpreting is more personal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll make space for just a couple more answers, a couple more responses.
We have analyzing is like computing the results. Interpreting is sharing / explaining the results.
So, and what have we said? The wisdom is in the room. I love all of these answers. And I really want to lift up one that talked about trends, right? So when we've collected all of our data, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, we might get a whole lot of information, but we need to sort of do some meaning making, right? So if it's a qualitative study, we might be trying to analyze or trying to better understand specific trends in our analysis. What are we seeing over and over again? Or what kinds of things are striking us as unique or interesting or important? And then when we get into the interpretation phase, absolutely, it's what does this mean? Why does it matter? How is this important for our communities? And how can we use this information to ultimately make things better? And we'll talk about that in just a few moments. So if I continue around my circle, I'm almost at the top again, then I'm sharing and applying my findings. I think this is one of the important parts of the life cycle of research and evaluation, and one of the ones that happens most infrequently. I think many of us in the room have seen or been a part of research projects where folks sort of helicopter in, gather all the information they need, swoop out, never to be seen again. And we're saying that that is the opposite of how research and evaluation should be done. Research and evaluation and advocate. So we're information because we have to do with information things. There's an advocacy component, maybe there's a policy change component, maybe there's other parts that we also want to make sure are affected in a really wonderful way based off of our work doing research and evaluation in communities. Now, I went through all of those steps very quickly and also sort of in one clockwise circle, but you all pointed this out when we did our short brainstorm. This is not a linear process. It's not first and then second and then third. Sometimes you'll develop the team, you'll identify the approach, and then you'll realize that based on your approach, you need to go back and add some folks to your team. And then maybe you'll get to identifying your evaluation design. And then by the time you get there, you go, oh, actually, I think we need a different approach based on the kind of design that we've established for this project. So that also feels an important part of why this graphic we feel really helps illustrate the importance of doing CHW work regarding or revolving around evaluation and research in ways that are participatory, because it acknowledges that the steps may not be linear and that we might have to go forward to go back. one more sort of segment that I'll talk about. We have at each corner, and this again is sort of a nod to the Indigenous framework that this graphic borrows from, that really says that the 4 corners or 4 points have specific meaning, and that whether that's 4 seasons or directions or whatever that might mean for you, we really think of those points as our guide in how we continue to make sure that these steps are not just steps, they're work that really creates change in communities. So the first, if I'm in my top right section on my view, is that community voice is always centered. We've said this multiple times at this point, but it bears repeating that when we're conducting research and evaluation in ways that are honoring of community, that means that their voice is always at the focus. It also means that our application of this research, or the reason we're doing this research, is that we're hoping that there is a deep change that happens for communities. And so the why behind us doing research and evaluation is to make things different in the communities that we're serving. In the same vein, that means that the data is relevant for our communities. So we're collecting the things that matter for communities. We're not just going about and sort of seeing what else we can sort of find that we're not actually trying to affect change on. We're really ensuring that everything that we're collecting is purposeful and has meaning. And then finally, we say that our findings are addressing root causes. We know that there are specific reasons that our community members, our communities are experiencing the kind of negative health outcomes that they're experiencing, that it is intentional and by design. And so we strive to conduct research in ways that really challenges not just the symptoms, not the fruit, but the root of what's happening in our communities. We believe that that kind of research and evaluation is the kind that actually creates the kinds of outcomes that we know can reverse some of the really challenging things that our communities are experiencing. So that is my long-winded didactic for our time. Hopefully that's the longest that I'm talking during our presentation time. I want to pause here and just see if there are questions or if folks might like to dive into any of the steps more before moving us into our next portion of our time together. Oh, I'm seeing a message from Martha that the sound in the video stopped. Did you all lose me for a little bit?
Just
It was
off for just a little bit, but we heard most of everything.
Okay, fantastic. Blame the internet. Zoom works exactly when we don't, exactly at the points where, you know, it's fine. And then the really key critical points, that's when our Zoom goes down. So apologies for any choppiness. And I'm seeing in the chat from Leo, for interpret, we need to have knowledge of the subject as well. I think that's so, so key. This is why, again, we think having CHWs as evaluation and research leaders is vital, because who knows the subject, who knows the community better than people with lived experience who are from the communities that they're serving. And so interpretation that's being done by researchers who have never seen, never had any direct contact with our communities is just not going to produce results that are as valid and the kind of change that we need that's going to be effective in our communities without that level of knowledge. So I love that point. Thank you so much, Leo. Okay, going once, going twice.
There's a question from Malcolm. He says,
Oh,
he
awesome.
asks, how can CHW get involved with the implementation process without being a certified researcher or accredited?
This is a fantastic question. I've done a lot of talking. I want to make space for others. So that's including my amazing facilitation team, but that also includes you all. I know that there are deep and rich experiences in this Zoom room. So I'm really curious what you all would say. How can CHWs get involved, even if we're not quote unquote certified researchers or have accreditation that would lend itself to these kinds of projects? What do you all think?
So I think that stay tuned for a little later in the presentation. And then also that just knowing that we do have some resources, and knowing also that personally, as a community health worker, without those certifications or accreditation, that higher education, even, there are opportunities for us to learn as community health workers how to do research and evaluation of our own profession. So yeah, and I'm seeing all these, yeah. So follow and read in the chat. There's a lot of great answers that I can see there. And yeah, we'll come back to that in a little bit.
Yeah, that's so good, Penny. And I just, again, because I suffer from the affliction of long-windedness, just a couple things that I do have to say, because that question, Malcolm, is for me the reason why CHWCRE, our organization, in many ways exists, and the work that we are so passionate and feel so privileged to be able to do. It's because we believe that it should not just be folks with, I call it the alphabet soup after their names, all of the letters and all of the titles that are conducting the research that literally determines what communities have clean air, clean water, access to healthcare, access to food, access to other resources. That can't be folks who are from a far-flung place somewhere else making those decisions for us. That has to be us. We say it all the time, nothing about us without us. And I think
Oh no, we lost Victoria.
We did.
Yeah, yep, not just you, Martha. That was for all of us.
Mhm.
I think so. I'm not sure where she was going to finish and go with her response, but as I was thinking on that question too, and one of the things I would say is we're going to talk about CBPR, and that's one of the reasons, or one of the reasons this framework works really well. Victoria's here in spirit. One of the reasons CPR works really well, because that framework helps to uplift and support like CHWs participating in research and evaluation. It's just one of the frameworks, but it's the one that we use for exactly for that reason. Someone in the chat said they lack data, so they're always trying to participate in research opportunities, and that's a great answer. But it is also a shift in what your program does, how your program managers think about research and evaluation. And that goes, it's one of our core roles. It's one of the 10 core roles, and something we SHWs can and should advocate for within our programs as well. Because it's great to be able to do the work. We do amazing work. We also want to be able to tell our story of how well we do that work. And so we sometimes have to be the ones to advocate for how do we actually evaluate our work. I'll stop there. So yes. Then we do have a social drama. Do we want to try to get Victoria back on first, or do we want to
Yeah,
go to
let's wait for
next?
Victoria for just a minute. And just to add to that too, it becomes like us advocating for ourselves, for our profession, to change the way that all of these people think, right? That we are qualified to do this work. We just have to have those allies that we have in those positions that really can help us advocate. So I don't know if we want to wait a second more, or if we want to go ahead and let's see, where's that? I'm sorry, I'm going to check this really quick. So I'm wondering if we want to wait for about maybe 10-15 more seconds to see if Victoria jumps back on. And then if not, let's go ahead and, oh, there she is. Yay. We waited. All right.
So we wrapped up that part, and then
Yes.
we're going to move into talking about CBPR and our social drama, but we needed you.
Yes. Oh dear.
That's all right. We roll with
All right,
roll with it.
friend.
Roll with it.
I was about to say, if there are any audio issues of any kind, I know that they are more than capable for the show to go on. So, apologies. Are we ready to move on? Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay. Now the fun begins. So, to talk a little bit more about these principles and these really important concepts with you all, we are going to be using a technique called a sociodrama. Now, as you all beautifully highlighted, and just a few things that I want to make sure to mention is that I'm really thinking about Martha's comment about sort of research and evaluation being scary. And I want to acknowledge that, right? That in the past, there have been far too many examples of researchers who did not respect the rights of research participants. And quite frankly, at times they completely ignored those rights. And so for that reason, and for many other reasons, community members can have very negative feelings about research. And that's why we're so excited to get to do this training, because we hope it establishes research as a tool that is always conducted in ways that are participatory, that are community focused, and that set new standards for research that matters in communities. And when we talk about research that matters, we love something called community-based participatory research. Give me some thumbs up or some love if you all have heard that term, community-based participatory research. We want to see the emojis going, all right, I got a couple hearts. I got a few thumbs up. I will take those. I will take a few hearts and I'll take some thumbs up. So when we say community-based participatory research, or CBPR, as it's sometimes called, we'll talk a little bit more about what it means, but I want you all to keep in mind that CVPR is research that we feel is most aligned with the workforce and research that we think CHWs are most likely to participate in. You can probably tell when we're saying community-based participatory research, it's research that is rooted and grounded in communities and make sure to include communities, just like we talked about, across all the phases of a research project. So in popular or people's education, we love using this technique of a sociodrama. So you are going to see a very short one-act play between the three of us that helps elucidate some more of the principles that we think make CBPR so special. So, barring any tech issues, I am going to pin myself, Kira, and Penny, and I might need help with the pinning if our dear facilitation team on the Notchwa side is able to assist us.
Can you please repeat all who needs to be pinned?
We'll raise our hands. Myself, Penny, and Kira. If you'll pin us, we'd be so grateful.
Okay, you should be good to go.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Okay. The setting of our short one-act play. The setting is that 3 members of the leadership team of the Community Health Workers Center for Research and Evaluation are planning a training, much like this one, intended to build the skills that CHWs need to become more involved in and take leadership of research and evaluation about their own profession. So right now, these 3 leaders are focusing on the section of the training that will cover the principles and practices of community-based participatory research. Here we go.
Okay, so right after the section where we show the participatory research graphic, we're going to move into the section about community-based participatory research and evaluation.
Well, Kira, you have some experience with CBPR, including using concepts in your upcoming dissertation, right? So what do you think is most important to cover in this section?
I would say it's really important to emphasize that CBPR was developed partly as a response to the unethical and oppressive practices used by researchers in the past. I mean, experiences like the US Public Health Service Tuskegee syphilis experiment. I also think it's important to cover some of the principles and practices of CBPR and then show how we have tried to apply those in the development of the CHW CRE.
Oh, I love that, Kira. And I'm remembering that in my research methods course that I just finished as part of my doctoral degree, I read an early paper by Barbara Israel and her colleagues at the University of Michigan. And I think it had a list of CBPR principles in there.
Yes, I love that article too. What caught your attention?
So much, but I think as a community health worker, something that really stood out to me is that community-based participatory research, or CBPR, and I'm quoting, involves a collaborative partnership in which all parties participate as equal members and share control over all phases of the research process. And I love that because to me, it means that the people most affected by the research should be involved in all stages of the research.
Mhm.
And I think that as CHWs, we're engaged as data collectors all the time, but it is much more rare for researchers and evaluators to involve us in identifying the research questions or the evaluation questions or designing the data collection instruments or analyzing and interpreting the results.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's been my experience too. And I think that we really try to apply those principles at CHWCRE. For example, the community health workers were deeply involved in identifying what constructs or concepts should be measured in their programs. And then once all these proposed indicators were developed to measure the concepts, you organized the summit of CHWs and allies to review and make changes to the indicators before they were tested, right?
Yeah, and that is a great example, Penny. I think another principle of CBPR that's super important to me is, and I'm going to quote, it integrates knowledge and action for mutual benefit of all partners. Like we all know it's been way too common, as you said earlier, Victoria, for researchers to come into a community, ask all the questions, take all the answers, but they never come back to make the data available to the community. And so CBPR really emphasizes thinking of from the beginning, how are we going to use the research results to solve some actual problems within the community that we are talking to. And the community recognized is as the owners. They are the owners of that data because it came from them.
Come on, absolutely. I love that. And I actually think that we at Community Health Worker Center for Research and Evaluation have really tried to do that by working with states to collect the common indicators as part of their statewide assessments. And I think it's beneficial for us to be able to collect the indicators across a ton of different settings because every time we go to a different state and we have these process and outcome indicators that help them understand what's working and what are the optimal conditions that allow CHWs to be successful in their setting, they get that knowledge and they can change things within their programs to make things better. And at the same time, it also is benefiting the states to be able to say, this is what works in Ohio or Kansas or New Hampshire or Oregon or Michigan. And they can start comparing their results to results from other places around the country. And that's another thing that I love that we do. We always support states to get the data they need most, both for program advancement, for policy advocacy, and for organizing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. This is great. So, kind of something else that I've noticed at Community Health Worker Center for Research and Evaluation, we always want to emphasize that everybody is learning. So the community health workers are learning about research and evaluation methods, approaches, but the researchers, they're also learning from us as CHWs about the work we do, about what kind of questions are necessary, and appropriate to ask our communities. And then what methods are actually going to work with the people. We know this because they're our communities.
Yeah, no, again, Penny, that's so key. And I'm really glad that you brought it up. And I think it goes along with the principle that CBPR really promotes a co-learning and empowerment process that really attends to social inequities. I think that's so key.
No, agreed. So, like, I also think it's important to talk about some of the practices of CBPR, meaning like how do these principles get actualized in real life? I think you both have already given some great examples of that in our own practice at the CHWCRE. Another practice that's often used in community is like a community advisory board. So like our advisory board plays key role in what we do at the CHWCRE.
Right. And for me, our popular education philosophy and methodology, it's like the glue that holds our CBPR practice together. And what I mean is, popular education, it really emphasizes that everybody knows a lot and that we need everybody's contribution to solve problems and create a more equitable society. And so as popular educators, we consistently value participants' contributions.
Yeah, Penny, I'm obsessed with that, right? Like that to me is exactly it, that we're creating settings where people can learn from one another and then use the knowledge that they've gained to solve complex problems. I think both of those practices really embody the principles of what CBPR is.
No, absolutely. Then those are great points. It's probably, I think, important that we mention while CBPR has gained a lot of attention and recognition over the last like 25 years or so, it's only one form of participatory research and evaluation. There are other forms out there. Some include like participatory action research, which is more common in some of our lower middle income countries. There's action research and there's community engaged research. All of them are types of participatory research and evaluation, and they all have things in common. And they also all have historical and practical differences. I think we've covered a lot though. Is there anything else you all think people should know about CBPR that we want to talk about?
So I think for me, it's important for folks to know that everything that we've just talked about with research also applies to evaluation. I know that we sort of say research all the time, but I really think it's vital that folks know that this is also applicable to evaluation, which is why sometimes we'll talk about it as CBPRE to really emphasize that evaluation component.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's so important. So, there's really so much that we could say. But the last thing I'll mention is that CBPR, it grows out of a different way of understanding how we know things and how we learn things. So in school, I got the idea that knowledge like existed out there and that the way we learn is to just like open up our heads so the teacher can pour in the knowledge. But by working with the Community Health Workers Center for Research and Evaluation, I've realized that actually, we all create knowledge together.
That is beautiful to end with. And yeah, I feel that, Penny. So I think we're good for this section. Should we move on to the next activity?
Yeah,
Do it.
Let's do it.
absolutely.
End scene.
And scene. Round of applause to our incredible facilitators, actors, actresses. You guys, what can't you do? What can't you do? So you all got to see our best acting skills in real time. I hope you enjoyed them. And so now we want to hear from you all. Let's reflect a little bit. And again, I'm going to ask the beautiful and talented Kira and Penny to please help me monitor the chat. Based on what you all just heard and experienced, what principles did you hear come up? And how, again, is CBPR different than conventional or other kinds of research that you might have experience with? And I think I found the chat, and I'm seeing, yes, absolutely, from Malcolm, that that we absolutely recognize that this is global. And so making sure these principles and practices are present in research that's happening in lots of different contexts. So thank you for saying that. So friends, what did you all hear? What caught your attention, caught your eye, your ear in the sociodrama?
So Martha said we have a voice from the beginning.
Absolutely. That CHWs are not an afterthought or something we rope in, right? That this is ideally research that's done with CHWs from the start. I love that, Martha. Other things that caught your attention in the sociodrama?
So Adrienne says, is the community a partner in the project or a research subject?
Ooh, ooh,
That's good.
come on, Adrian. Now that is a question. Once again, I'm going to open it up to the room. What do you all think about that really, really powerful question? Reflections from you all and reflections from Kira and Penny before I pontificate. So I'm seeing Malcolm, a partner with individuals and subjects with systems. Other thoughts, other ideas? What do you all think? Christy, usually a little bit of both. Maybe I'll give another 30 seconds for any other thoughts, ideas, reflections. And a research subject. Let's not forget that you can't have one without the other, and they're hopefully a willing partner. Yeah, Kira, Penny, what are you thinking about? What's coming into your mind?
I'm in agreement with Kirsty and Martha and Malcolm. They're both. There should be both. They should be, community should be on the team, and they are the problems are the things we're researching with the community. So they play both parts.
Yeah, Kira, I feel that. I'll admit that I sometimes get that feeling when I hear about community as a research subject, because my first thought is lab rats under a microscope being experimented on. And sadly, that is a challenging reality that many communities have faced over many, many years. So I love that idea of partnership. And the thought and the thinking, right, that if we have CHWs that are involved at every stage, they are the ones that are also, as we talked about, designing the tools that we're collecting data with. They are establishing our research protocols. They are helping create who and what should be on the team. And so it's not something that communities are being subjected to. Hopefully, CHWs and other community members are part of the process. And so it's community getting to assess themselves, do some self-assessments is what I'm thinking about, better understand what's working and what the challenges are in their community, and then have amazing academic and other partners that are helping them devise interventions that they're saying, this works for me. So I love the agency and empowerment that you talked about, Kira.
Oh, before we go, I love Martha's comment again. Subject is scary. That word is scary. And because you can, when you have CHWs in the whole process, there's language, there's verbiage, there's a ways to ask things appropriately or phrase them appropriately. And we can then come with that strength-based instead of that deficit that a lot of research comes with. So again, the value of CHWs at the table, and like Adrian said, Henrietta Lacks is a cautionary tale. When we are not at the table, things get done to us instead
Come
of with
on.
us. So I love you all. I love this conversation, y'all.
again, we're going to invite you all to be part of the facilitation team next time because you all have it. And I just have to say, and I know that we're running on time, so I'm going to quickly get things moving for us, but I go to the university where the Henrietta Lacks event took place. And so I think I feel really keenly that example. And if anyone's not familiar, Henrietta Lacks was a woman of color who had essentially these supercells. And so she was being treated for cancer, but the researchers identified her cells and used and pioneered breakthrough medicines and other kinds of medications and other interventions years after her passing without her knowledge, her consent, or the knowledge of her community or her family. And so absolutely ensuring that those kinds of things never happen again. And really, really deeply, Kira, I hear you that there is a way to do this. And so we're here because we believe that these are some of the tools and principles to be able to do this well. I will stop talking. I will advance the slides, and then I'm going to pass things over, I believe, to Penny, who's going to carry us home.
Right. This conversation, we could easily sit here and talk with you for 2 more hours, but sadly, we only have so much time. And so we're going to have to kind of move into the next section here where we really want to talk to you about, how you want to learn, how you want to develop your skills. So we want you to know that the Community Health Worker Center for Research and Evaluation we're going to continue facilitating workshops like this to build community health worker capacity to be involved in research and evaluation. And also for those researchers, we're doing workshops also to help them, like we talked about, where they learn more about how the ways to involve community health workers. So here are the questions. Go ahead and write in the chat. You can put your answers. How would you like to continue developing these skills in research and evaluation? And what would you like to learn next? And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this is just a little tiny portion of a much larger training that we do, like an all-day or 2-day training that we are offering to anyone across the country. If you want to receive information about that, we'll share in this next slide. We'll share how you can get in touch with us for more information. So anybody have, anything specific? Yeah, okay. Martha, yes, thank you. How to use the data, to help sustainability of CHWs in any organization. Love that so much. Hoping that you are going to stick around for the next session. So same thing with a new code of ethics. Right, exactly. So maybe we could offer a training or certification for CHWs. Is the training free? So we have a lot of resources on our website. And we also offer a training for a fee. That would be a very extensive, day or 2 long training. Like to learn CBPR through participatory education models, including really successful examples, variations, how to incorporate language access, how to use recordings, run through programs to analyze for quantitative data. Yeah, I love it. We are actually writing all these things down. and if we can't offer the training, we have resources, but these are all in our wheelhouse, right? These are all things that the Community Health Worker Center for Research and Evaluation is more than happy to provide training on. Want to help with CHW's CBPR Code of Ethics or Community Assessment? Great, Malcolm. I love that. We have some more information about how you can get involved with our advisory group, get in contact with us. So moving on to just Q&A around this entire session. We have only just maybe a couple of minutes. Oh, please make a CHW CRE LinkedIn. You know what? We've been talking about it. We may just have to do that. Thank you. Okay, so how can CHWs advocate to get involved in evaluation teams? That is a tough one, right? Because it's partly about you having that confidence to just speak up for yourself and say, and the ability to say that I want to be involved in this way. And then it's partly these teams being willing to include community health workers. Anybody else? Victoria or Kira?
I mean, I was going to say a very similar thing. The idea that these are tools that I think it's twofold, really supporting CHWs, which is our mandate to build these skills, and then supporting you to identify techniques to actually apply them. I know I came from a CHW program where it didn't feel like there were any opportunities for me to practice research and evaluation. However, there were opportunities for me to start with how can I be more involved in the data collection tools, or how can I start thinking with my program manager about best ways to assess what's working in our program with the common indicators. And so it was not full-blown leading projects from day one, but I think being ready, which means having these skills and then also doing advocacy with your program, with your community to really make this a priority. And this is not something that we're saying, okay, now you go do it. We'd love the opportunity to work with all of you to really establish those skills and then identify the strategies for you to be able to use them and apply them.
Joshua has a good comment there. Maybe developing relationships with leadership people in the orgs who are involved with research and evaluation as a starting point, and inviting those folks to CHW spaces like socials to quote unquote gang up, LOL. And I love that one. And you can back that up with bringing up that it is one of the 10 core roles. And we have resources that show the impact and the usefulness of measuring with the indicators and using those to do measurement. There's already these indicators that you can implement, which we'll talk about later. And so sometimes advocating is having those tools and presenting it to your leadership and saying, look what's happening, look what's available. How can we use this here?
No, that's so good. I want to make sure Kira gets at least 2 minutes to give us our evaluation, but I'm taking one of those minutes because I love the comment about deaf ears from Martha. And if you all can't see the chat, just let us know and we can see if there's something that we can do on our end to make sure you're able to see all of what's happening in the chat because it's so rich and so good. All that to say that when we talk about sustainability, and this is the conversation that everybody's having around the country, CHWs participating in research and evaluation is critical for the sustainability of programs. Because if we don't understand our impact, there is disincentive for us to stay in the field. It's harder to prove our worth, especially to funders. And CHWs are the experts, say it with me, the experts in what actually works for the field. And so that to me is also a compelling argument for folks to make sure that CHWs are not just at the table, but they're chairing the meeting. 2 minutes. I kept my promise. Kira, I'm going to pass it to you.
Okay, so
for
2 minutes.
Our evaluation.
In the first minute, we would love to know, because we are facilitators, but we're not the experts. Y'all are experts. We're learning from each other. We want to always be able to improve our practice, improve our workshops. So the question we love to ask is, what did you like or find useful in today's session? Please drop it in the chat, and that'll be my first minute. So what did you like or find useful about the session today? Yes, Martha. Ooh, Hamilton quotes. I love that. All right. Thank you, Joshua. He said engagement and support for self-advocacy. Martha said excitement of the speakers, could have been a boring subject. I see learning, Rosanna, learning about CBPR. I love the social drama, great fireside chat, the visual at the beginning showing the values and roles of CHWs in evaluation, sociodrama. I love the dynamica and the use of popular education in an online setting. Thank you all. Okay, so you can drop things that were useful, because again, we do use this information to improve, but also how can future sessions on this topic be improved going forward? That's our next minute.
I can make sure that I call Xfinity and get a new modem so my internet does not drop. So that'll be my do better.
So Victoria's gonna call us Xfinity.
Other ways we can improve, guys, we need your feedback. We need to make the best session ever, and we need your help to do that. So what kinds of things could we improve on in the future?
Mm.
Aw, guys, we're gonna wipe our tears right now.
I love that.
Oh,
So longer session or part 2, more in depth. Okay. Not change anything that's not broken. Thank you.
come on.
A
I
series
love
of
what
sessions. Yes.
share the slides. So we will share the slides, absolutely. And I think, I mean, if you've ever met 3 CHWs that are more excited to talk about research and evaluation, you're gonna have to send them to us because we think we're those 3. We'd love to do more. We'd love to do a deeper dive. We'd love to provide more information. So you see our contact information in the chat. I'm gonna go back to that slide. And please, if I can, this might be where Xfinity decides that I've gotten greedy. I'm gonna close on our contact slide. So again, please, please, please reach out to us. We clearly love the topic and we love the subject. So we love the opportunity to work with you in the future. And I think we're just at time. Oh no. Friends, this has been really, really, really wonderful. We're just grateful to you and hope for more opportunities to get to do good work with you all in the future. Have a great rest of your day. Penny, will you put our contact info in the chat one more time just for folks? And we're grateful for your time as always.
Thank you all. Yay. That was fun. Good job, ladies.
Great job, ladies.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna go grab a snack before we go into the next
Yeah.
one.
All
We'll
right.
see you at
We'll
the other
see you in
room
just a
in like
minute.
5 minutes.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Sounds good. Thanks. Bye.